to do anything because we are going into game 2.
We are going to game 2, just not enough. Diego hitting like probably one of his ideal openings in this deck. This deck is so good because of Tramp Street Smart Dog and what it managed to do if you string together a bunch of characters early, especially that lady, which can dump 2 characters on the board on turn 3. And so Diego just all gas there and the Under the Sea to clear things off. So Diego showcasing why he loves dogs and why he clearly thinks this is the deck that's going to take him all the way.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say, one of the things me and Liam do before every tournament is we walk around and say, tell me what you think, tell me what you think, tell me what you think to every single player we see. And I did talk to a player here who you guys might recognize from a caster over in Europe. I talked to Kim, and I said, in this matchup, because she plays dogs and loves an aggressive style deck, what do you need to do? Like, how do you win against that Amethyst Steel? And she says, you need to go first. If you don't go first, it's going to be a bad time. So Diego is not going first. So now, if Julia, like I said, if she can get that hook and she can get that Calhoun out, that's good. But one thing we talked about, Liam, we talked about earlier this week, is that different decks feel a lot scarier in other people's hands. So there's any person in this entire room where I'm like, well, I don't want to play them playing dogs. It's Diego, because he knows this deck like a back of his own hand.
That's true. Diego, I would say Diego and Kurt Spice right now are probably considered the two of the best dogs players. There's a lot of great dog players out there, but those are 2 of them. Also, shout out to SSG Ghosty, who invented the original list, Jack Morales,
yes,
out of Florida. So another great player on dogs. But Julia here off to turn 1, establishing that turn 1 card. It's very important in this deck if you want to get that strength full power on a later turn. And Diego with it, it's the same opening as last game, except this time Diego is on the draw, so is just a little bit behind, but establishing that Daisy, that 2-lore quester on turn 1. That's exactly what he wants to do. So both players, so far, not missing a beat. Oh, but here, this is a double. So this deck often doesn't do 2-on-1. It often does a 2-drop character, and now we're seeing 2 1s.
Yes, and the reason you want to do that is because she saw what happened. Diego goes so wide. And so it's a situation where she's going, well, I'm going to need to be doing some hand-to-hand combat here. That Daisy does have a 4 willpower, which means she needs a friend if we're going to go ahead and challenge her in one clean go. So in this case, this is what she needs to put that pressure on. She's saying, I now have a board. You need to respond accordingly. And last game we saw Mowgli go ahead and get to play it on this turn. Diego also in turn can go wide. In this case, he goes as an inks that Lilo Escape Artist and says, I can go wide too,
Yeah, going wide here, following suit, same thing. But that Daisy Duck, as you pointed out, kept in check, not questing there. That hook kind of threatening with his challenger too to do some damage and take her down. So now Diego, everything's standing upright, but plenty of lore on the board, and that lady can also be boosted a little bit if Diego drops several characters on the board next turn.
Exactly, and so now it's the planning phase, because we've seen that basically step 1 is you get that board presence, but step 2 is you got to get that card draw coming. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and get Cheshire Cat out, because we saw a Dumbo in hand, but Dumbo is best when paired with some evasive friends. So that might be something that comes into play later. In this case, that Cheshire Cat is fantastic for getting some challenging and damage moving synergy going. So we have the Elsa Fifth Spirit in hand and a Dumbo, but she goes as and passes and says, you go first. And this becomes a standoff when you see a lot of times in these wide boards, is you're waiting for one person to go first, which is why card interaction like Demona and Elsa Fifth Spirit matter so much, because it forces your opponent to give into the war of standing and not questing.
Yeah, breaks that board state wide open. We'll see what Diego chooses to do here. Now, sometimes this is a turn you do the strength check. You try to see if your opponent has it. So we might see an Ursula or a Mowgli. No, we're going to establish a Chromacon. Oh, interesting.
And yet, you love to see it if you are a dog player. You don't love to see it if you're Julia, because we talk about items. Items are one of the cards in Disney Lorcana, and you don't see it in every deck. But when you see it, it is because it is vital to the deck plan. So much so that there's a card, Benja, that we don't see all the time, but people have been adding Benja back. Benja was reprinted in Fable. He has that item removable when he comes into play. People have been adding him purely because of their fear of things like Emerald Chromacon, a Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. So it is very interesting to see how devastating it is. And here we go. We got Genie for that card draw, but yeah, the math changes now.
Yeah, absolutely. This card allows you to, whenever one of your characters is banished, not even in a challenge, not even on your turn, I'm sorry, during opponent's turns, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. So that can work 2 ways. 1, you can bounce your opponent's characters, which are trying to do some board control and kind of keep your board intact. Or 2, if you have exerted characters, you can bounce them back to your hand as soon as one of them is banished to then play them again ready next turn and protect them. So doing multiple duties in this deck. And it's so important to this deck's identity nowadays that we used to have Chernadogs, as you pointed out, with Chernabog occupying a critical spot. But when we lost him and the Chromodog Crown was worked in, now this deck is sometimes referred to as Chronodogs.
Yeah, Chromodog, which sounds like an all-chrome dog, which I guess not Chanted Lady might be a chrome dog, if you will. But here we go. We got, he's calculated here. We see that Ursula Deceiver. Ursula Deceiver is very powerful because unlike Mogi, you can go ahead and target exactly what you want. But in this case, the board is getting a little bit wider. The wider it goes, the less that strength is so scary. And then we get Tramp into Tramp, and there we go. We see exactly what he did last game and why it's so good, because now he gets to hunt for exactly what he wants.
Yeah, digging around, probably trying to find another Tramp to string things together. Of course, an Under the Sea here would also be absolutely devastating. Now, not enough on the board to sing it right now, but having it in hand to sing next turn would feel pretty good. Also worth noting that when characters come into play, that Lady does get bonus strength, and Tramp also augments strength. So if Lady is of a certain strength, I think it's 3 or more, she quests for an additional 2. So
yes, the dogs all have, when we say the dogs, Lady and Tramp are absolutely flying off each other with synergy. So that decisive dog, she's going to go ahead and get +1 strength whenever you play a character. When she has 3 or more strength, she quests for 3. But then Tramp is going to go ahead, and then he's going to go ahead and buff, and by buffing, he's going to increase the strength when he comes into play. So it's one of those things where they're all working together, and then Tramp is discounted by the other amount of cards. So it's how you get a ton of value off of just 4ing. Is a long story short, is how you get ton of lore, ton of value. And now he's feeling ready to quest because the Chromacon is on board. His board is wide, and now Julia has to do very, very calculated math.
Yeah.
When do you quest? When do you challenge?
And it's super. But Julia there, getting 2 lore off that Giant Cobra, dumping a card at the Calhoun into the discard pile to play that Dock with an empty hand, which will draw her 2 cards. Just going to ready that Palace Guard there, and now thinking through how do I control things. And you have to sequence things, as you pointed out, just right here, because as soon as you banish something, you're likely to lose another one of your control options.
Yeah.
So Julia now questing 2 of that Genie.
Yeah, and when we talk about sequencing, it's just saying that, I mean, the order in which you do things extremely matter because, like we said, when something quests, you want to generally quest with everything you plan to quest with before you start your challenging. When you have the Chromacon on board, now everybody's going to do things in different orders. In this case, she goes ahead and challenges right away and is starting that bounce. So that Cheshire Cat did not get to do that quest before the Chromacon started. So this is why it's going to matter, and she has to think through exactly how she sequences the decks.
And not even a thought there, not even blinking, Diego, just immediately choosing that cat, realizing
that darn cat here.
That it presents. One note, I do think that Captain Hook should have 1 damage on it from that challenge. Oh, no, it should not. It just cleared off the Lady, my bad. But yeah, double challenge there from the Palace Guards into the Daisy. So 1 damage each, and we'll pass it back over to Diego here. So a little bit of control, but Julia now with a wide board presence. Diego all the way up to 7, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on board now. Oh, here's a fun card. It's the Mickey Mouse Amber Champion.
Yes.
This is a spicy card to be worked into this list.
It is, and this is why I love watching people like Diego play, because this Amber Champion is one that's going to synergize with the singing ability that we have in Disney Lorcana. So essentially, your other Amber characters are going to get that +2 willpower, but also, when you have 2 or more other Amber characters in play, Singer 8. Now, why do we need Singers? Probably to send somebody to the bottom of the ocean, I would imagine, for it Under the Sea. So it's a very interesting include and shows what he is teching for here. So yeah, he's able to go ahead and get a little bit of lore on the board, menace with that Mickey and saying, what song do you think he's going to sing? Which notably, everything but Giant Cobra would be impacted.
Well, now, and it is game on board now for Diego. Of course, Julia able to clear some stuff off. But the great thing about this Amber Champion is not only does that Singer help a little bit, but that 2 willpower, especially against a deck with damage-based removal, it looms really, really large here. So those Daisies, if they're at full strength, now have, or full willpower, now have 6 willpower, and it's just a lot for Julia to deal with here. That Tramp, even with that 1 damage, has 7 willpower. So Julia now having to figure out how to take down these very, very powerful characters.
Maybe a deal?
Perhaps a deal. So Hades looking for a deal coming down, offering a deal. Looks like Diego did not take it, and so Julia able to draw a couple extra cards here.
Ooh.
There's a very popular card this set's been worked into most Amethyst builds, although not all. And Julia did find a strength, so that will be good. Genie's going to sing it here. Probably going to choose that champion, clear that off the board, but a character being banished. Now Diego's going to send back the Cobra. Now you don't like to give it oftentimes because you can get an extra 2 lore out of it, but it is the biggest body on the board, the most damage, and so now Julia not having that option there.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and double challenge in. Now, that's when we say sequencing is important again, because the first character does not banish the Daisy, so that one doesn't activate the Chromacon trigger. In this case, the second challenge did banish Daisy. He goes ahead and selects that Hades looking for a deal, which could get her more cards, but I think Diego is saying, listen, I plan to win before you'll do anything cool with those cards, I believe is his game plan here. He kind of telegraphed maybe he might be looking towards an Under the Sea, which at this point would completely clear her board. So if he has that, he's able to use that Sing Together mechanic. That would be very devastating for Julia. So I'm very fascinated to see where are we going here.
Yeah, Julia inking there at the end of the turn. So doing a decent amount of control there, but Diego still with 5 lore on the board, able to go up to 17, and we'll see what else he dumps. Oh, it's that Tiana, which is going to guard all of his characters when she's exerted, not doing anything when she's ready here. But Diego going to quest. We'll see what that Tramp does. Nothing. Back over to Julia for her response.
And I love this because this Tiana and the Chromacon and the Mickey are all saying, I want to go fast and I'm going to make it so hard for you to stop me. And it's very exciting to see because I haven't personally seen Tiana in this list before. So it's showing that this list has been tested and he has found in this meta, he wants to make it as difficult as possible for you to stop his plans. He knew Amber Steel is probably going to be the most popular deck in the room. And he says, I'm going to make it absolutely devastating. I went second, and I'm making it look like I went first right now.
Yeah, it is interesting. Tiana has worked in and out of these decks, and last meta there was a time when she was very popular, and then she disappeared for a little while. And so it is fun to see Diego working her Diego working him back in. But yeah, I mean, just to your point, I mean, it just with both those cards, very, very difficult for people to deal with when you're using damage-based removal. People to deal with,
and it's
cards and. Julia now dropping a Genie, looking for answers, but a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, and it's capitalizing on your opponent kind of, I don't want to say, but making choices. And there we go. I mean, she had to make very difficult choices over and over and over again. And Diego took that to the win here. He was able to win handily on the play, on the draw.
And man, what a fun match. So we've seen a tale of 2 matches in the first couple rounds here. We saw in the first round a very, very long match go all the way to time. JDZ throwing down